Hey, how are you? Good morning. It's Friday. It's 11 o'clock, and it's been a big week in flash charging for BYD. So there it is. Super fast charging. The first BYD Flash Charger just switched on in the UK. It's the fastest public charger ever installed on British soil. And the price the price that might actually surprise you. The government launched a review into charging costs this week. The VAT gap between home and public charging deliberately kept out of scope. We'll go into why that matters and a little hint about our EV charging cable gully checker with your council, which is a free service on our website where you can just plumb in your postcode and find out whether you are eligible for a grant for a charger cable gully. There are now more Chinese EV brands in the UK than most people realize, and it's not just BYD anymore. And then Ferrari unveiled its first ever electric car last month, and the reaction was spectacular. I'm sure you've heard a lot about that one, but it was worth covering, I thought. And then the reaction wasn't necessarily in a good way. Shares dropped 8% in a single day when they launched it. Italy's transport minister publicly slammed it, and we'll talk about what's actually going on there. And BYD has a new supermini PHEV that will do 646 miles combined. That number is real. We'll look at it at the end. This is Primetime EV Live. 5 stories in 30 minutes. Let's go. Right. BYD Flash Charging. You can see it here. It's up on the screen at the moment. Let me just make it slightly bigger so you can see a little bit more about it. This is the incredible 5-minute charge. It's the fastest public EV charger ever to hit the UK. And the incredible thing is the BYD Flash Charger price per kilowatt hour, which is something we're going to be talking about. The BYD Flash Charger went live in the UK this week at 1,500 kilowatts peak output. It's the fastest public charger ever installed in Britain, 3 times more powerful than Tesla's V4 Supercharger. BYD is targeting sub 50 pence per kilowatt hour compared to the 70 or 89 pence per kilowatt hour currently charged by most rapid networks. So the first BYD Flash Charger switched on in the UK this week, and that number matters most. The number that matters most isn't that charging speed, which is incredible. It's the price. Most rapid chargers in the UK right now run at between 70 and 89 pence per kilowatt hour. BYD is targeting sub 50 pence pricing. That's a meaningful gap. Now, the charging speed is extraordinary. 1,500 kilowatts peak output. That's 3 times the power of Tesla's fastest V4 Supercharger. On a compatible BYD with the right battery, you're looking at 5 minutes for 20 to 70%, 9 minutes for a near full charge. But here's the thing. Most cars on UK roads can't accept that speed anyway. They'll draw what their own hardware allows. Plug in a BMW iX3 into a flash charger and you'll still get 400 kilowatts because that's what the car can take. The charger itself is future-proof. Most of the current fleet isn't just yet. The pricing story has a wrinkle though. BYD's UK's country manager, Bonnie Gee, I think it's Gee or G, told Autocar that they want sub 50 pence for BYD and Denza drivers. For everyone else, other brands, third-party networks, it could be around 80 pence. Because the site operators who'll host these chargers won't allow BYD to undercut them on their own land. So you could end up with a 2-tier charging price at the same physical charger. 50 pence if you drive a BYD, or 80 pence if you don't. That's worth watching. By the end of next year, BYD plans 300 flash chargers in the UK, 3,000 across Europe. 1 every 50 kilometers on major routes. That's roughly every 31 miles. The lower pricing is possible because BYD installs its own battery storage on site. And I've got a picture here to show you that I will put up. And it's clever this because the battery storage can store energy during off-peak rates. So it buys the energy at bulk in off-peak rates, and then it charges it back at a profit during peak demand. So you can see also, you're not at the mercy of where the network is and where you can plumb in. So it's a clever idea if you've got the space for battery storage to be able to do this. So they're not relying on any third-party operator to fund the infrastructure. They own the whole stack. That's actually quite a different model to GridServe or Osprey or Ionity. These networks buy energy, pass costs on, and take a margin. BYD is more vertically integrated. Whether that translates to consistently lower prices long term, we'll see. But the intent is interesting. My verdict on BYD Flash Charging UK 2026 is that the speed story is mostly marketing for now. The price story is the one to watch. Sub 50 pence from a rapid charger would genuinely move the dial. If that pricing holds across brands, not just BYD, it matters. BYD Flash Charging UK 2026. Tesla have done very well out of this over the years by having the Supercharger network that's been opened up to further cars. But if you owned a Tesla, particularly at the beginning, if you owned a Model S, when the Model S came out, they gave you free supercharging for life. So all those guys that are driving around, or guys or girls driving around in a car now, are and an early Tesla, are still getting free electricity, free charge for their vehicles. The BYD is kind of adopting a similar stance where they're going to charge you optimal pricing for being a BYD owner. You'll get super fast charging because the vehicle is set up for it if you own a Denza or a BYD, and you're going to be able to pay 50p or less per kilowatt hour for super fast charging. Be interesting to see how many of these go in around the country, and how quickly they can establish the network. But if they're not relying on grid infrastructure, it's a pretty smart move, actually, I think. And you can see from these batteries, I'll just show you the network there. So you can see the charging network. So 2 vehicles are driven up to this particular network here. You can see the cars here. They back to back on them. The Flash Charger is a whole unit, and it has its battery storage nearby. So it's clever stuff. Now let's just put the rates up. 1500 kilowatts, 5-minute charge, probably 80p per kilowatt hour for most drivers, but 50p per kilowatt hour if you are looking for 50p per kilowatt hour if you're a BYD or a Denza owner. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And they're planning to have a charger every 31 miles across the UK. So let's see what happens there. Okay, next story. Let's go on to what we're doing next. And that is the government is launching a charging cost review. So let's just put that up so you can see it. And I'll go on to the next story, which is about the government's charging review and this VAT rate, which is still there. It still exists. There's 20% for people who don't have off-street parking or a driveway. They're paying public VAT prices. It's so unfair. Public EV Charging UK 2026 and the EV Charging VAT Review UK, the Government Charging Price Review of 2026. The UK government launched its official review into public EV charging costs this week. Public rapid chargers now average 79 pence per kilowatt hour, up 38% since 2021. Home off-peak rates can be as low as 8.8 pence. Despite sustained industry pressure, the 20% VAT on public charging versus 5% at home has been explicitly excluded from this review scope. So the government launched its charging cost review this week, and it was promised in the autumn budget of last year. It finally got terms of reference. Here's the headline number. Public charging currently averages 79 pence per kilowatt hour. Home off-peak rates can be as low as 8.8 pence. We had someone who messaged in last week saying they were paying 2.99 pence. That was on a contract that already exists, but there are some super deals out there. For club members on a good EV tariff, it's closer to 8 pence as a benchmark. That's not a small gap. That's a structural problem. The people who feel that gap hardest are the ones without a driveway. Around 40% of UK households can't charge at home. They rely entirely on public charging. They pay more per mile. They always have. And this review is supposed to address that. Public charging costs have gone up 38% since 2021. That's according to Charge UK's own industry data. The people who can least afford it are paying more. The people who charge at home have mostly been shielded from that. Now, here's what I find genuinely frustrating about this review. The VAT gap is 20% on public charging and it's 5% at home. That's a direct structural injustice. Industry groups have been pushing to equalize it for years, as have the CPOs. There was even a first-tier tribunal ruling in February suggesting public charging could qualify for the 5% rate. HMRC is appealing that. The cost to the Treasury of losing is £85 million a year. By 2030, it rises to 315 million. And yet the Treasury has kept the VAT policy out of scope for this review, deliberately. The official line is that tax decisions happen at fiscal events, not in standalone reviews. Fine, I understand the process argument, but it means this review can look at everything except the single most powerful lever. Philip New is chairing the review. Report is expected in the autumn in 2026. We'll be watching. My position hasn't changed. The VAT gap is indefensible. It taxes people for not having a driveway, and it needs to be equalised. That's EV charging VAT 2026 UK. It's rather unfair. Okay, next story. The Chinese EV wave beyond BYD, and they're coming through thick and fast now, these Chinese EVs, and love them or hate them, they're going to be more and more on our roads, and they're an incredible success story in the UK. So we're looking at Chinese electric cars, UK 2026. We're looking at the Leapmotor B10 UK price and the XPeng P7 Plus UK, which is an amazing car actually as well. So the Chinese EV wave in the UK is much wider than BYD. Leapmotor, backed by Stellantis, has launched the B10 at £31,495, under 30,000 with the Leap grant. XPeng's P7 Plus arrives later in 2026 with 10 to 80% charging in 12 minutes. JACU is already climbing UK sales charts. This is a structural market shift, not a single brand story. When people talk about Chinese EVs in the UK, they usually talk about BYD. That's fair. BYD is extraordinary. And we've just covered the flash charging and the fact that BYD owners are going to pay sub 50p for their charging when it's 80 to 90p for other brands. But the wave is much bigger than one brand. And this week feels like a good moment to take stock of who else is out there. Let's start with Leapmotor. You might not have heard of them, but here's the bit that matters. Stellantis owns 51% of Leapmotor International. Stellantis is the parent company of Vauxhall, Peugeot, Citroën and Jeep. So when you walk into a Vauxhall dealership and there's a Leapmotor next to the Astra, that's not going to be an accident. That's a strategic decision by one of the world's largest car companies. The Leapmotor B10 is on sale now, £31,495 list price. Under 30,000 with the Leap grant, which mirrors the government's electric car grant at £1,500 off. For that, you get a 67.1 kilowatt hour battery, 270 miles range, 168 kilowatt charging, heat pump as standard, panoramic roof, 360 camera, heated seats in one trim, everything included. That's the Chinese brand proposition in a nutshell. More spec for less money. Also, I think it's interesting that they're using Stellantis dealer network. BYD have done really, really well with getting cars into dealerships so that you have a trusted and authoritative kind of friend that helps you go engage in the electric car experience from a dealer that knows. Whereas there have been other companies like VinFast that were planning to do the kind of Tesla model where they just set up in shopping centers and got going. And I think there's still a lot of trust for local dealers in the UK. We've all generally bought cars from dealers over the years and built relationships with them. So the Chinese are beginning to do deals based on those dealership models, and it seems to be working, especially with the JACU out there, which is everywhere at the moment. Then there's XPeng. We've seen a lot about XPeng. It's a kind of a companion or a competitor to the Model Y and Tesla's car, and it's better, bigger, faster, some would say, and cheaper. The G6 SUV is already on sale, but the more interesting car is the P7 Plus Saloon arriving later this year. 800-volt architecture, that means super fast charging, 451 kilowatt peak charging speed, 10 to 80% in 12 minutes for charging, up to 341 miles range. It'll be the fastest charging car in Europe when it lands, give or take the BYDs. XPeng set a 24-hour endurance record last year in the next generation P7, 2,461 miles in 24 hours with multiple fast charges, including hitting 130 miles per hour. That's a brand that knows exactly what it's doing with a battery. And then JACU, as I mentioned before, owned by Chery, one of China's biggest manufacturers, the E5 is already in UK showrooms. It's selling really well. It's got Range Rover adjacent styling. You may have seen them. They're all over London now. I'm seeing them everywhere. Electric car grant eligible at £3,750 off. It's been climbing the sales charts faster than almost anyone expected. The pattern across all of them is the same. More spec than equivalent European cars, lower price point, backed by serious manufacturing scale. The question isn't whether these brands will have an impact. They already are. The question is which ones will last. Leap Motors' Stellantis backing gives it infrastructure most new entrants don't have. XPeng has the tech credibility. JQ has the looks and the price. Watch all three of these brands because they're coming thick and fast. That's Chinese Electric Cars UK in 2026. Okay, we couldn't not mention the Ferrari, and I'm not even going to show you a picture of it. I'm just going to talk about it because it was really watching the internet go mad about this car and what happened with it. So you've probably all seen it. It was designed by Jonathan Ive, who designed the Apple iPhone, and Ferrari went a bit crazy, or the kind of automotive community went a bit crazy about it. So I think it's called the Luce. Ferrari unveiled the Luce in May 2026, its first fully electric car, 1,035 horsepower, 0 to 62 in 2.5 seconds, 329 miles range, designed with Johnny Ive's legacy agency Love From. The UK price is around £450,000. Ferrari's shares dropped nearly 8% on the day of the reveal. A YouGov survey found 51% of Britons disliked the design. So the reaction was something to it. Let's do the numbers. 1,035 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, 0 to 126 in 6.8 seconds. Top speed, 192 miles per hour. Very few electric cars are hitting that kind of speed. 329 miles of WLTP range, 122 kilowatt hour battery, 2,260 kilograms, around £450,000 in the UK. It was designed in collaboration with Love From. That's the creative agency founded by Johnny Ive, the man who designed the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone. So the interior is genuinely interesting. Apple Watch style crown controls, iPad-like infotainment, Gorilla Glass throughout. It's clearly a piece of design work. And then the internet saw the outside. Ferrari shares dropped nearly 8% on the day of the reveal. Italy's far-right transport minister, Matteo Salvini, publicly criticized it. A centrist opposition politician called it, and I'm quoting, an aesthetic and technological insult to anyone who loves Ferrari. Even Ferrari's own chief design officer admitted it was polarizing, which is a polite way of saying it didn't go well. Maybe. YouGov ran a survey of Britons after the launch. 51% said they disliked the design. 29% liked it. So it genuinely divided opinion. It didn't just divide petrol heads online. Real people asked cold. Mostly didn't like it. Now here's my actual read on what happened. Some of the backlash is a legitimate design criticism. People looked at it and didn't see a Ferrari. It's a fair response. Ferrari carries decades of visual identity, but the Luce doesn't reference it very much. But some of it isn't really about the design at all. Some of it is people who never wanted Ferrari to go electric, and they're using the design as the safe thing to criticize. Because I don't want electric cars sounds stubborn. The design is wrong sounds like a reasonable opinion. Watch the comments under any Ferrari Luce video. You'll see both kinds. The people genuinely upset about the shape and the people who are actually upset about the powertrain. They sound the same, but they're not. The GLR rebrand is worth taking seriously, though. The JLR rebrand, that was a brand that over-pivoted on design and lost the room. There was a huge furore around the Jaguar redesign. Ferrari's chief design officer says people will come around. He might be right, but he probably said that to a board who've now watched the share price drop, so the pressure is real. What I find genuinely interesting is this. BYD launches a 1,500 kilowatt charger and people celebrate the technology. Ferrari launches a 1,035 horsepower electric saloon and people mourn the combustion engine. Same week, very different reactions. That tells you something about who actually resists the EV transition. It's not the mass market. It's often the premium end, the people who are most emotionally invested in the old thing. My verdict on the Ferrari Luce is that the performance is extraordinary. The interior is genuinely lovely, actually. The exterior is polarizing and not accidentally so. Whether it's the right call commercially, I'd want to see residuals in 5 years. But the idea that Ferrari going electric is a betrayal, that's the noise. It's not the signal. That's the Ferrari Luce Electric UK 2026. I'm on the fence about it. Looks okay. I don't really care, to be honest, about how it looks, how it feels. I don't have any mass affinity to Ferrari V12 engineering, although it is phenomenal what they managed to do, and they made beautiful cars for many years. But it has been really interesting seeing how the audience and the community around electric cars have reacted to it, and what's going on with the future of, BYD super technology, super Chinese technology coming in, and classic European marks like that, and where they sit within this whole spectrum of electric cars. Okay, the BYD Dolphin G DMI is, let me just put some rates up so you can see, go back to normal rates. So I just remove that, and I will find the rates up for you, which should be here somewhere. And there they are. Share this tab instead, and we're going to put those up, and I will third it so you can see it just there. Okay, so back to rates. I updated the rates last week for public charging. You've got AC, you've got direct DC, you've got some home charger costs, and you've got rapid DC charging. Thank you to all the new members of the club. Loads of people coming in. And thank you to the people that are inquiring about whether they can get a cable gully installed, whether it could be funded. You just zip your postcode in, go to the website, primetimeev.com, enter the charge, your postcode, and you'll get an answer on whether you can install a cable gully, and indeed whether it's funded, or whether your council is avoiding the whole issue at the moment, because there are certain councils that are not allowing cable gullies. Okay, BYD Dolphin G DMI, plug-in hybrid supermini for UK 2026. Quick one to close because this number is too good to skip. BYD has confirmed full specs for the Dolphin G DMI. It's a supermini PHEV, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Think Corsa-sized, 646 miles combined range, 65 miles on electricity alone, 201.7 miles per gallon weighted fuel consumption, 32 grams of CO2 per kilometre. That last number is extraordinary for a B segment car. It's the only plug-in hybrid in the supermini class. Nothing else in this segment does this. MG3, the Renault Clio, the Vauxhall Corsa, none of them offer a plug-in hybrid EV. It's also the first car BYD designed specifically for Europe, not adapted from a Chinese model. Built for this market from the ground up. UK orders will open this summer, first deliveries from early autumn. No UK price confirmed yet, but I'd expect it to land under £25,000. And if it does, and it comes with BYD's track record on spec, this will be a proper problem for a lot of mainstream manufacturers. Okay, we're going into Q&A now, guys. And we've got questions around the BYD Flash Chargers. I'm going to just show it again because it is quite interesting what they're doing. Does BYD Flash Charging work on all EVs? And it's going to be a question around, how many vehicles can actually plug into this amazing spec technology? The answer is yes. BYD Flash Chargers use a standard CCS connector. So any EV with CCS can use them. The speed you actually get depends entirely on your own car's charging hardware. A car rated at 100 kilowatts will draw 100 kilowatts. The charger won't force it faster. Only cars with BYD's Blade 2.0 battery can access the full 1500 kilowatt capability. So if you own a new BYD, if you go out and lease one or whatever, when that technology turns up, you're going to pay sub 50p per kilowatt hour for the electricity rather than 80 to 90p as per other rapid charging networks. And you're going to get this super fast charging. If it runs off a standard CCS plug, you're going to be able to use BYD chargers, so that's good, but it's going to be limited to the speed that your car will charge at. The BYD chargers have their own batteries that they're using. I will show you one here. Let me just, you can just see it there. It's a battery storage unit. So interesting that they will allow you to just plug into this, and they will buy their electricity at off-peak rates, and then they will sell it back to you at a profit, which I think is quite a clever marketing tactic. So any car can plug in, and it's amazing like that. Okay. The why won't the government equalize VAT on public charging? Well, it's a good question. I will remove that, and I will go back to our charging rates here. So let me just get those up so that you can see them. The government has not equalized VAT on public EV charging because tax decisions are reserved for the fiscal events like the budget, not standalone reviews. Public charging currently attracts 20% VAT versus 5% for home charging. Industry estimates suggest equalising it would cost the Treasury £85 million a year, rising to £315 million by 2030. This is going to be a battle because people who cannot charge at home should be able to charge at home using equivalent. People who cannot charge at home should be able to charge publicly using equivalent rates. It seems incredibly unfair that there's a pavement tax for people who can't charge their vehicle at home. So let's see where this review washes out. But at least it would help the CPOs if VAT was charged at 5%. We know that they're battling a lot of headwinds at the moment, and they've had huge capital infrastructure costs getting all these electric chargers in. Now, in London, there are electric chargers everywhere. I mean, we've got lots. There's lots of facility for it, and they're not all busy. There's lots of lamppost charging, which is too expensive. There's lots of 22 kilowatt AC charging all across the streets, which is also too expensive. And most people can't even charge at 22 kilowatts because their vehicle is only rated for 11 kilowatt charging. And the conversion from AC to DC has to happen in the vehicle when you plug in. So really, they need to think about getting some good rates on that. The official reason is process. Tax policy changes happen at budgets, not in reviews. I understand the argument. I still think it's the wrong call. £85 million a year sounds large, but it's the cost of treating people without driveways fairly. It's not an enormous ask. Is Leapmotor a trustworthy brand? Leapmotor has credibility because of its Stellantis backing. The world's fourth largest car manufacturer owns 51% of Leapmotor International and provides access to its global dealer network. The B10 has received a 5-star Euro NCAP rating. The 4-year, 60,000-mile warranty is shorter than Kia or JQ, which is a legitimate concern for buyers. The Stellantis connection is the reassurance here. This isn't a brand selling directly from China with no infrastructure. It's in Vauxhall, Peugeot, and Citroën dealerships. It has service centres. It has a 5-star Euro NCAP. The warranty is shorter than a Kia at 4 years. That's the real caution, but it's not a fly-by-night operation. Will the Ferrari Luce ever recover from its launch backlash? It's too early to say definitively, but Ferrari has recovered from controversial launches before. The Purosangue SUV faced skepticism and became a strong seller. The Luce has genuine performance credentials. 1,035 horsepower, 2.5 seconds to 62, and an interior that's widely praised. The design polarization is the real risk. At £450,000, biopsychology matters enormously. Ferrari has been here before. The Purosangue was supposed to be heresy, an SUV with a Ferrari badge. It sold well. The Luce has the performance numbers. It has a genuinely impressive interior. The design question is the one that lingers. But Ferrari customers at £450,000 aren't buying on impulse. They'll drive it. And my instinct is that a lot of online noise won't survive contact with the actual car. Should I wait for the BYD Dolphin G DMI or buy something now? If you need a car in the next 3 months, buy now. The Dolphin G DMI starts UK deliveries in early autumn 26, and pricing hasn't been confirmed. If you can wait until late 2026, it's worth seeing what the price lands at, particularly if you cover mostly short trips where 65 miles of electric range would cover your daily driving on electricity alone. Depends entirely on your timeline. If you need a car now, buy now. If you can wait until autumn, the Dolphin G might be worth seeing. 65 miles of electric range on a PHEV supermini is genuinely useful. Most commuters are under 40 miles. Most commutes are under 40 miles. Most people in a car like this would barely use the petrol engine day to day. It's true, but don't wait for a car that doesn't have a UK price yet. Do your research when it lands. Okay, before I go, Primetime EV Club, you can see the club rates here. Free to join. Every month you get the cheapest public charging rates we can find. The best lease deals, EV lease deals, hardware offers for chargers, and a weekly digest of the EV news that actually matters. No noise, just the useful stuff. You can link in primetimeev.com/club or drop us a line at the club at primetimeev.com. Remember that you can also do the cable gully charging checker for your council. See if your council will allow it. Go to the website, plug your postcode in. It's free to use, as is the club, and just see if you can get any grant towards putting in a cross-channel cable gully. That's it for this week. BYD Flash Charging, the price is the story. Watch the two-tier pricing risk when they go out. Government charging review, the VAT question has been ducked, and that's a problem. Chinese brands, it's not just BYD anymore. Leapmotor and XPeng are worth your attention. The Ferrari Luce, genuinely spectacular car. Design backlash, partly legitimate, partly EV. Resistance in disguise. It's interesting watching what the audience are doing there and what the car community are doing. And the BYD Dolphin G DMI, 646 miles in a supermini. That number is real. Thank you for watching. See you next Friday at 11. This is Primetime EV. Have a great weekend, everyone. And thank you for watching, listening, wherever you are. We're across all podcasts as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.